Rent, your loans, the money you hand over at the supermarket. All these everyday things have one thing in common: debt. And today the world is more in debt than at any point in history. This isn't just a phase, it's an experiment. Maybe the biggest financial experiment humanity has ever run. What's crazy is that most of us don't even realize we're living right in the middle of it. Debt doesn't shout anymore. It's quiet, invisible, but it's everywhere. If you want to see how debt has shaped history, and continues to shape our world today, hit subscribe and join the journey. Global debt, that's governments, companies, and households combined, has reached levels we've never seen before. Governments borrow trillions almost without thinking. Central banks create money at the push of a button. Families take out 30-year mortgages like they're buying groceries. And still we talk about debt as if it's harmless, ordinary, and permanent. But the truth? It's not harmless. Debt has never just been a financial tool. It's a tool of power, a way to control people, and often a ticking time bomb. The real question isn't if this mountain of debt will trigger a crisis. It's when. And when it does, who will end up paying the price? So, how did we get here? To understand today, we have to go back. Because debt has a story that's older than you think. Debt is as old as civilization itself. In Mesopotamia, thousands of years before Christ, the first clay tablets weren't poems or philosophy. They were debt records. Who owed what? How many sacks of grain were borrowed? How many cattle exchanged? Every detail written down. From the very beginning, debt was at the heart of society. But here's the twist. Back then, debt wasn't just about money. It was sacred. Priests and kings oversaw debts. They made the rules and enforced them. Sometimes to stop society from collapsing, they even wiped debts clean. Think about that. For a society to survive, the financial system sometimes had to reset. Debt was power, yes, but too much of it, dangerous. Ancient leaders knew something modern ones often ignore. You can't keep people under debt forever. At some point they stop producing, and that's when the system breaks. History has taught this lesson over and over, and almost every time, we forget it. By the Renaissance, debt looked very different. Grain and livestock were replaced by gold and credit. Banking took off in cities like Florence. Families like the Medici didn't just get rich. They became the center of political power. Money now dictated not just trade, but power itself. Kings and popes borrowed huge sums to fund wars, build cathedrals, and maintain empires. But no matter how sophisticated debt got, the risk didn't disappear. If anything, it grew. Debt stopped being just a personal matter. It became a structure holding whole states together. And here's the big shift. Debt became a geopolitical weapon. Take Spain in the 16th century, loaded with silver from the New World. Its treasury was overflowing. Its armies were massive, yet it went bankrupt 4 times. Why? Spending had far outpaced reality. Debt didn't give power. It secretly corroded it. The first big lesson: even a treasury full of gold can't save an empire when ambition outstrips reality. Debt, used wisely, is a tool. But cross the line and even the strongest structures can crumble. From that point on, debt played the same role in history. Financing wars, toppling dynasties, reshaping borders, determining the fate of nations. The real turning point came in the 20th century. After World War I, the world was drowning in debt. Victory didn't erase the cost. Germany, forced by the Treaty of Versailles to pay reparations it could never afford, was doomed. Economists warned, this burden will destabilize the country. And they were right. In the 1920s, Germany's hyperinflation became a vivid warning of debt's destructive power. People carried wheelbarrows of cash just to buy bread. Money had lost its value. Why? Because there was nothing solid backing it. This was the inevitable result of debt that couldn't be paid. And it didn't just crush the economy, it reshaped politics. Societal collapse laid the groundwork for World War II. Debt was no longer just a number. It was fuel for chaos. After World War II, the world tried to prevent repeating the same mistakes. The Bretton Woods Conference of 1944 set the stage for the modern financial system. The U.S., holding 2/3 of the world's gold, set the rules. The dollar was pegged to gold, $35 an ounce. Other currencies were pegged to the dollar. The goal? Stability. Keep exchange rates steady, make trade easier, avoid crises. On paper, it worked. But there was one big assumption: America would always maintain financial discipline. For a while, it worked. Trade grew, economies recovered. But the lure of borrowing never went away. By the 1960s, the cost of the Vietnam War and rising domestic spending started to strain the U.S. Treasury. The U.S. was printing more dollars than it had gold to back. Other countries noticed. Foreign governments began converting their dollars to gold. And in 1971, Richard Nixon closed that door. The dollar's tie to gold ended. The gold standard was effectively gone. It didn't seem like a huge crisis at the time, but it was a silent revolution. Debt was now unshackled. From then on, no solid anchor, limited borrowing. Central banks thought interest rates could manage the economy. Slow growth? Cut rates, encourage debt. Crisis? Solution: more debt. Each intervention required more leverage than the last. The system became increasingly fragile, even as growth numbers masked it. In the 1980s, public debt surged. Developing countries borrowed heavily from Western banks. On paper, everything seemed fine. Until repayment time. The Latin American debt crisis proved it. Debt chased prosperity. But when the wave receded, destruction remained. And this pattern was pushing us toward the next major collapse. By 2008, the system was stretched to its limits, but from the outside it looked fine. House prices rose. Banks hit record profits. Credit was easier than ever. Everything seemed normal, until it wasn't. The 2008 crisis wasn't just a housing crisis. It was the inevitable outcome of debt piled on debt. Mortgages were bundled, securitized, sold to investors, insured with derivatives, leveraged to absurd ratios, 30 to 1. The system's fragility was laid bare. Here's the key. Everyone thought the debt belonged to someone else. Risk seemed dispersed, but it hadn't disappeared. It was just invisible. And when the problem surfaced, the entire structure shook. Banks collapsed, markets froze, pension funds evaporated. Governments had to announce trillions in bailouts. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The system's architects were saved. The cost was borne by ordinary people. Millions lost jobs. Homes were foreclosed. Incomes dropped. Years of austerity followed. Debt had once again proven it's never neutral. The system protects the powerful. After 2008, things seemed different. But really, only the size of the debt changed. The solution? Still more debt. Bigger loans, lower interest rates, larger central bank interventions. And the numbers spiraled out of control. Global debt tripled in the last 20 years. By 2023, it surpassed $300 trillion. That's almost 4 times what the world produces in a year. This isn't abstract. It's a massive weight pressing on the system. In some countries, it's visible. Japan's public debt is twice its GDP. The U.S. keeps adding trillions annually, almost without debate. In Europe, some countries' debt ratios remain over 100%. For developing countries, the situation is even more fragile. They often borrow in foreign currency. If interest rates rise or currencies fall, their debt skyrockets. Sudden collapses become possible. The system assumes debt can grow forever. History repeatedly shows this is an illusion. Debt always comes with a price. It changes behavior, encourages risky choices, inflates bubbles, transfers wealth quietly. The most dangerous part? Debt mortgages the future. Every loan today is a claim on tomorrow's labor and earnings. As the numbers grow, paying becomes impossible. That's why history is full of defaults, restructurings, and inflation. Debt always ends in one of 3 ways. You pay, you quietly inflate it away, or you default. No empire or system has ever escaped this truth. Today, debt's effects are everywhere. Most people don't notice because it's invisible. Governments run deficits without knocking at your door. They issue bonds. Your credit card payments? They're debt. Corporate profits? Many come from debt-financed stock buybacks. Leverage keeps the system upright. But leverage is like gravity, almost imperceptible going up, crushing going down. Debt isn't just numbers, it's psychological. Gives the illusion of breathing room. Feels fine today. But deferred costs return. bigger than before. Politicians love debt. Raising taxes, controversial. Cutting spending, even worse. Borrowing? Painless at first. The bill is pushed to the future. We'll deal with it later. History shows us that later always comes. Low interest rates make debt quiet, sleeping, harmless. But when rates rise, debt awakens. And when it does, you see everything clearly. Post-2022, we saw a vivid example. Borrowing costs jumped, governments squeezed, households faced higher payments, companies struggled to refinance. Debt is a sleeping predator, harmless while quiet, ruthless when awake. As debt grows, repayment becomes harder. And here's the easy way out: inflation. Not announced, not declared. Prices rise, purchasing power drops, savings erode. Prices go up 10%. Your savings shrink 10%, but government debt also becomes lighter in real terms. Inflation is the debtor's escape hatch. That's why history favors it over defaults. Softer, slower, unnoticed. Restructuring? Acceptance that debt is unbearable. Losses are shared, terms changed. System shakes but survives. Greece shows us this. Default? The harshest choice. Openly declaring debt won't be paid. History is full of examples. Argentina, Russia. None painless. Promises are broken. Pain follows. So today, signs are clear. For governments under heavy debt, inflation is politically easiest. But the economic cost? Others pay. Savings shrink. Wages lag. The future is quietly taxed. Debt isn't just about economics. It's about power. Who lends? Who borrows? Who gets rescued in a crisis? History's crisis pattern is familiar. Big banks saved, corporations restructured, politicians exit stage. Ordinary people lose homes, jobs, years of labor. Understanding debt isn't just financial literacy, it's survival. See the trap, and you at least know what's coming. It doesn't mean panic. It doesn't mean bury gold or run from everything. It means knowing which assets hold real value, seeing history's recurring patterns and avoiding the same mistakes again. Because systems seem to change, but at their core, they repeat. Debt grows. Leaders deny it. Crises come. Societies reset. If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe. History has already written the answers. Make sure you're ready for the next chapter.